Hi everyone, I'm Gail from Enrichment Coaching. I'm a personal development and confidence coach, and I help people with their confidence so that they can banish their self-doubt, they can tame their inner critic, and they can have a positive impact on the things they think they can and can't do. So Laurie's very kindly asked me here today to talk to you about confidence, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the origins of confidence and also what you can do, how you can identify your confidence, and also the things that you can do to kind of enrich and improve it. So I've got some notes down here. So, part of being confident is about admitting the things that you're good and not so good at. And I'm not great without notes. So you'll forgive me if I keep looking down at my notes, because I want to make sure that I give you everything that I've got and that I don't miss a thing. So what I'm going to share with you today is what I call the confidence DNA map. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the confidence iceberg and where confidence comes from. You've got my QR code up here, so you can connect with me and link in with me if that is what you'd like to do. But also you can also email me, and I'm sure Laurie's going to be sharing with you all of my contact details. So my first question, and actually I'm just going to share some slides as well, so just bear with me a second while we get those going. Make sure I've got the right thing, and hopefully you will still be able to see me here in the slides. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you, if you like, is confidence really in our DNA? Well, the short answer is yes, it is for some of us. The long answer is clearly much longer than that. But there are lots of hormones and neurotransmitters that are controlled by the genes in our DNA that are most closely linked, or thought to be most closely linked, to our confidence and our levels of confidence. And that might be why sometimes you meet somebody and you think, oh my God, that person's just so naturally confident. Maybe it's in their DNA, or maybe they've got some learned behaviors and they work with it and they act as if they are confident. We don't talk here about fake it until you make it, because that just isn't sustainable. Now, if we go back to these genes, most of these genes have different strands, and these strands control the hormones and neurotransmitters, which means that people will react differently in different situations. So for those of us that don't have much of that gene, or as much, or any of it at all, the good news is, confidence gene or not, it's malleable. It has the ability to be influenced by our actions. And I think for me, confidence is much more than a phrase where we say, I want to be more confident. I wish I had more confidence. It's so much more than that when we just dig a little bit deeper and we stop to think about, what does confidence really mean for us? Quick notes page change. So if I move on to my next slide and I introduce you to what I've called my confidence iceberg. Now, you will have seen an iceberg model somewhere describing something else. It's just a great analogy. It's absolutely brilliant. And what I love about this is that the tip of the iceberg is what we call our confidence. It's the actions, it's the behaviors, the outward display that we see, if you like. And then as we start to dig a little deeper towards the bottom of our iceberg, in fact, if we go right down really deep, right to the very bottom of our iceberg, we can see that at the bottom there, we've got our upbringing. This is where our beliefs and our values are made and they're cemented. This is where our childhood, if you like, how we were brought up, where we lived, who we interacted with, our manners, all of those things. We can't necessarily change our upbringing now. We can change how we might think about some of those experiences we had, but we can't fundamentally change our upbringing. As we come up a little bit higher, the next thing that impacts our confidence is our experiences. And I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear me say that. But our experiences are where we learn. They're where we grow our resilience. They're where we make mistakes and we pick ourselves up from them. Our experiences bring an awful lot to our confidence. So if you think about the last time you maybe stepped out of your comfort zone, you did something that scared you, actually how that went will determine your experience when you come to do that the next time. So that might mean if it went really well, brilliant, you've got that surge, that feeling of confidence. But maybe if it didn't go quite so well, you're left questioning, well, what could I do differently next time? The next one is our environment. And this can be really important, really important. Just the other day, I was doing a workshop where somebody talked about, actually it was a guy, and he said, I know my confidence is impacted by the people that I surround myself with. And that's so important here. This environment is physical, but it's also mental. So it could be our physical environment, where we sit, where we choose to do our work, where we choose to have our meals, and how we choose to consume our food. It might also be those people we surround ourselves with. Who are our cheerleaders? Who are the fun sponges and the mood hoovers that actually we do need to interact with because we want a little bit of feedback, but equally they take the joy out of things. And how do we control how often we want to see those people? Your environment might also include what you wear and how you feel in what you wear. And then also, actually, just going back to what you wear, I remember working with a client a while ago who was having real issues, as she put it, confidence issues in the boardroom with some senior members of her team. And she said, oh, do you know what? Sometimes I feel really powerful when I wear my red trousers. So I saw her in the office one day in these trousers, and I was like, wow, those trousers look amazing on you. She's like, yeah, I'm off to the board meeting. And the next time I saw her, I said, oh, I'm still loving you in those trousers. How did it go? And she said, wow, she said, I stood up really tall and I felt really powerful. And she said, my confidence just felt completely different. So there's lots going on in our environment that we can have an impact on. And then for me, there's this final thing that just teeters below the surface. And this is our courage, our practice, and our consistency. And these for me are really important because this is where we can have the biggest impact on our confidence. Sometimes we need that little bit of courage to go off and do that thing that we've been putting off. A little bit of courage to say no, to say, I've just got some notes here, I'm going to read them. We need to practice what we want to be good at. Like anything we want to do, we have to practice. It almost has to become a habit. It has to then be consistent. So we're never going to be good at something. If we think about our favorite actors and actresses, often we can name the character, but we can't name the person. And why is that? Well, that's because they've practiced. They've talked about they've lived and breathed their character. They are that person. And in our courage, practice, and consistency, this is where our thoughts and feelings then determine the actions that we see above the line, the tip of the iceberg. Of course, the hormones and the neurotransmitters lay the groundwork for us to experience confidence. And the three main ones are serotonin, which impacts our mood and helps to keep us calm, also interestingly linked to sunlight. So I know for me, often if I'm struggling, I'm sat here in my little office, if I just go for a walk, that can make such a massive difference to how I'm feeling and how confident I am. Oxytocin is the next one, and that's linked to optimism and a warm and positive attitude towards ourselves and to others. And also it's linked to risk taking. And, we all experience risk at different levels, don't we? The final one is dopamine, which inspires doing, exploring, and taking action. And usually dopamine is a good thing, and having it there for longer can often mean better concentration. But also when we're stressed, our dopamine is made really fast around the body. It floods that prefrontal cortex where we make our decisions. And that's when overwhelm can often set in. So I think it's important for us to think about, maybe we have some confidence cousins and some confidence demons. And our confidence demons would be our things like comparison, overthinking, people pleasing, procrastination, our inner critic, our negative self-talk, and also perfectionism, where we just set incredibly high standards for ourselves. But our confidence cousins can be things like optimism. It can be linked to self-compassion. How kind are we to ourselves? Where do we give ourselves a break because we're only human? It's about self-care. And that isn't all about bubble baths and candles. This is about, what does self-care look like for you? For me, often that's going out for a walk, getting a coffee, listening to some music or a podcast and switching off completely, putting my phone on Do Not Disturb. It's about self-esteem, how we see ourselves. Another confidence cousin will be our cheerleaders, our environment. Who are those people that have an impact on us in a positive way? But also they're there to give us feedback if we need it. And then there's our self-efficacy, and how good we think we're going to be at a task. And finally, for me, another confidence cousin is this act as if. And like I said right at the beginning, if you're faking it till you're making it, that is just not sustainable. Acting as if is a much better way to think about it. Act as if you are confident. Stand tall, act as if, and one day you will be, because you're not confident yet, but you will be if you have the courage to go out and do it, you practice it, and you become consistent at it. So the iceberg model is all well and good, isn't it? But how do we put this into some kind of practice? So if we just come back to our DNA, oh, look, and now I'm completely in the way here. Make myself a little bit smaller so that you can actually see what I'm talking about, but so that you can still see me. This is what I call my DNA map. So I'm going to talk about mine here, but you're going to have access to one of these so that you can build your own DNA map as well, and you can have a think about some of these things that I'm going to talk about here. So if we start with our upbringing, which was right at the very bottom of the iceberg, where our values and our beliefs are built, some of the questions here that I might consider asking you if we were working together would be, how did your childhood shape your beliefs and values? How does this make me who I am today? And what do I know, or how can I relate this to my confidence today? I'll make sure you have access to these questions too. And for me in my upbringing, I'd be thinking about, I grew up on a council estate. My parents were incredibly hardworking and loyal people. And also I had dancing lessons, which probably made me quite confident when I think about it now. In fact, my great niece, yes, I did say great niece, I am that old. She is at the same dancing school now. I'm sure the teacher's like 150 now, but I can see the confidence in her, and actually that must have done something for me. Also, one thing in my upbringing, I was bullied at school, quite significantly bullied. And when I look back on that and those situations, I think about the girl who bullied me and when I think about her surroundings and the family she came from and where she was, and I know a bit more now, I can only think about how isolated she must have felt. So whilst I can't distance myself from the feelings, my feelings are always here, I can't distance myself from the feelings of how the bullying made me feel and act. I can reflect on that and see that slightly differently now. Then if I move on to my experiences, I start here to think about, where have I learned, where have I grown, and how have I built my resilience? So I'd be thinking about, what were the significant things when my confidence was high or low? And for specific situations, what have I done that's related to this thing that I probably need to go off and do now, that I'm putting off, that I think I don't have confidence for? What experience can I pull on that might help me with my confidence right now? And what do I know about the situation? What are the facts going on here? And then when was the last time I felt truly confident? And what can I bring from that experience into times where I feel less than confident? And for me, there's loads in here. We haven't got time. We could probably write a book about this. But if I think about the significant things for me, these were things like going off to uni, the first in my family to leave the town where I grew up. That mistake I made when I thought I deleted the company intranet. Yes, that feeling still stays with me. That person I dismissed for stealing money when I was in retail and I was a store manager. That first person I gave feedback to. All of these things. And often what I do here is I pull on the facts, I pull on the evidence. What happened? How did it go? And what did I learn from that? And then if we move on to environment. So again, who am I surrounding myself with? Are they cheerleaders for my confidence? When am I at my best? Where am I? Who am I with? What are my boundaries? Where am I putting my energy and my focus? What am I wearing? Back to those red trousers. What changes could I now make to my environment to enrich my confidence? So when I think about this, for me, this is often relevant to the here and now. So who cheers me on? I have a very small circle of cheerleaders, people that I really trust, and people who I know will always tell me the truth, however difficult that is for them. I have boundaries and I make sure that they're kept to. They're important to me around home, work life, around holidays, around switching off. I didn't work for myself to be working 24/7. I don't subscribe to that. We have to be available 24/7. In fact, I think sometimes if you work for yourself, you need to take more breaks because it is all consuming. Where am I? What am I doing? Where am I getting out? Where are my walks happening? Where's my running happening? Yes, believe it or not. Am I working in a different place? How do I control the controllables about what I consume and what I see and how that makes me feel? And I think often managing some of this helps to keep those hormone levels under control, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then finally, we're on to our courage, practice, and consistency. And these are the 3 points that will help you to keep molding your confidence, to shaping it to what you want it to be. These are the 3 points in your DNA map that will impact that tip of the iceberg so that everybody sees this outward display of confidence. Everything and anything we want to be good at takes practice and consistency until we're good at it. But you might just need a little bit of courage for that in the first place. So some of the things I do around this one is around my craft. I talk about it a lot. I'm present on social media. I do it. I live some of this confidence stuff. I'm not confident all the time in every situation, but talking about confidence all the time makes me more confident and makes me go off and do things. It makes me step out of my comfort zone. Whether it goes well or not, I still learn something in the process. I keep showing up to my consistency. I keep doing things differently. And one of my favorite sayings is, Gail, pull up your big pants and go off and do it, because what's the best that can happen? Big pants are a big thing for me. And actually what they help me to do, however flippant that might be, and I include boys and girls in this, we can all be pulling up our big pants. They do make me stand taller. They make me pull them up. They help me to make decisions. They spur me into action. They challenge me too. And that's where that inner critic can be turned into that inner mentor. So guys, look, I feel that that's a real whistle-stop tour of the DNA and of the confidence map and the confidence iceberg. I'll make sure that Laurie's got everything that you need so that you can build your own DNA map. And when you do, I'd love to see them. And of course, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I'm sure Laurie will tell you how you can get in touch with me if you'd like to do that. So thanks for listening and hope to catch you all soon.